thing I've always admired as a little girl was having a BFF. Best friends forever. Nothing sounded better than having this one very awesome friend for eternity. Perhaps this word may trigger childhood memories. Childhood memories of when we had friendship bracelets and friendship handshakes. Or perhaps this may trigger memories of when we were in elementary school and how happy we felt to be called this name. Unfortunately, this is not the case for me. The word BFF ruined my childhood. At the age of 6, I learned loneliness. I was thrown into a local school in a foreign place where everyone looked different and spoke words I couldn't make out. I immediately became the alien. No one really knew who I was, and I never got to know who anyone was because we couldn't speak the same language. At the age of 7, I learned rejection. I was desperately reaching out to my peers, wanting them to talk to me, wanting them to laugh with me. But all I got were strange glances and people walking away from me. At the age of 8, I learned desire. A desire for a best friend. It seemed like everyone around me had a best friend, and they had someone to call them a best friend. Even the characters on my favorite TV show had best friends. So I became attached to this desire. The only thing I thought about was gaining a best friend, someone that I could call a best friend. But this desire drove me to a fairly confusing place. As a little girl, I've always been a person who's never been afraid to share what I've thought. I've always been a girl who's preferred playing around outside instead of indoors. But once I realized that the girls around me weren't like that, I immediately began to change myself without hesitation. Now, there was a time I still remember when I hosted a birthday party, and I told all of my guests to buy me a Barbie doll. I didn't like the Barbie doll, but my friends did. So at the end of the day, I ended up with a bunch of plastic dolls that I didn't even want. But it was all worth it. And then I was fitting in. It meant that I had the right to call them my best friends. And finally, I had earned the label of being called a best friend. I had achieved happiness. Or so I thought. There eventually came a point in my life when I realized how unhappy I was. Sure, I had everything I wanted for years. You know, the weekly slumber parties and friendship handshakes and bracelets. But I found myself losing a stay in the group. I was constantly fearing the day when I would lose this label of best friend that I worked so hard to gain. Our world is impossible without social relationships. We are constantly living in a circle of relationships forming and fading away, and forming and fading away once again. And through these relationships, we place certain labels on people. Our best friends, our girlfriends, our boyfriends, friends we're pretty close to, and friends we're not pretty close to. And we place certain values on these labels. These labels are important because by doing this, we control our relationships and we learn from them every day. But these labels can become dangerous at times. We might start hiding who we really are and end up being controlled by these labels. Now, I grew up being told, be who you really are. But I absolutely hate this phrase. I hate it because I know through experience just how hard it is than it sounds. To this day, I fear loneliness and rejection, and to avoid this fear, I can't always be in my truest form. It's not necessarily a bad thing at all to want to become a certain existence for someone, or to be in a certain relationship with someone. But in that desire, there needs to be a balance of being your true self. And think about it this way. BFFs and these labels we place on people are in the end just invisible things we place on each other. They're all inside our heads. So don't let that kind of thing take complete control of who you really are. Because every single one of us is so much bigger than just that. Thank you.